Good morning, students. Once again, welcome back to the course of Concurrent and Parallel Programming. This video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions, Macharla. This is Arvind Egireddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. So today, let us discuss about the parallel architecture and interconnection network. Here the interconnection network, which is the heart of the parallel architecture. And we cannot really design the parallel algorithms or the programs without understanding some of the key properties of various types of parallel architectures and the means by which these components can be connected to each other. So here the parallelism has existed in computer science since their inceptions at various levels of the design. For example, bit parallel memory has been around since the early 1970s, and simultaneous IO processing by using channels has been used since the 1960s. And other forms of parallelism that includes bit parallel arithmetic in arithmetic logical units, ALU, instruction look ahead in the control unit, direct memory access, DMA, data pipelining, and instruction pipelining. So, however, the parallelism that we will discuss is at, of course, a higher level. But in this particular lecture, let us look at the processor arrays, multiprocessors, and multi-computers. So, let us, however, begin with the in this particular video by exploring the mathematical concepts of a topology, that is a network topology. So here we are using the term network topology. So here network topology, which is going to refer to the way in which the set of nodes that are being connected to each other. So here in this particular context, the network topology is essentially a discrete graph, a set of nodes connected by some edges, and a distance does not exist, and here there is no notation of length of any particular edge. So we can think of each edge as being of unit length here. So network topologies, they are going to arise in the context of parallel architectures as well as in the parallel algorithms. So we are going to use this in the context of parallel architectures as well as in the parallel algorithms. So here in the domain of parallel architectures, network topologies, they describe the interconnection among multiple processors and different memory modules. And in network topology can also be described for communication patterns among different set of parallel processors, because they are going to be used in two different ways. So here we have to first examine them purely as a mathematical entities discovered from any particular application. So here today, we will examine the following topologies in this particular session. That is a binary tree, fully connected, also called as completely connected, mesh and torus, hypercubes, which are also called as an binary n-cube. And in our next video, let us discuss about the butterfly network. So here, coming to the first one, that is a binary tree network topology. So in a binary tree network, the 2k minus 1 nodes, they are being arranged in a complete binary tree of depth k minus 1, like what we can see in this particular figure. Okay, so here, in this particular example, we can see that the depth of the binary tree is which is of length of the path from the root to the leaf node. So here each interior node which is being connected to two children, and each node other than the root which is being connected to its parent. So here we can say the degree which is 3. So for this particular graph, what we are going to see, for this particular image, what we are going to, we can see on the screen. Here the degree is 3. And the diameter of the binary tree network with 2k minus 1 nodes, which is 2 into k minus 1. Because the longest path in this particular tree, which is any path from the leaf node, that must be go up to the root of the tree and then down to the different leaf nodes. So here, if we let n is equal to 2k minus 1, then 2 into k minus 1 is approximately 2 log n to the base 2, which is 2 log n to the base 2. That is the diameter of the tree network with n nodes is a logarithmic function of the network size, and which is very slow. So here the bisection which is very low, which means that it is poor. And it is also possible to split the tree into 2 sets, differing by at most 1 node in size by deleting either the edge that is incident to that particular root or the bisection width, which is 1. So here the maximum edge length is an increasing function of the number of nodes. Now coming to the fully connected network topology. So in a fully connected network topology, every node is connected to every other node. So that we can see in this particular figure. So here, if there are n nodes, then there will be n into n minus 2 edges. Suppose here, if n is even, then there are n by 2 even number of nodes, and there will be n by 2 odd number of nodes. And for suppose if we remove every edge that connects to even nodes to an odd node. So here the even nodes will form a fully connected network, and so will be the odd nodes. But of course, these 2 sets, they will be disjoint. So they will be separated. So there will be n by 2 edges from each and every node to every odd node. So totally there will be n by 2 whole square edges that are going to connect these particular 2 sets. And now by removing one of them, that fails to disconnect the 2 sets. So this is the minimum number. Therefore, the bisection width is given by n by 2 whole square. And here in this particular case, since every node is connected to every other node, the diameter is 1, because there is a direct link from any node to every other node. So here the degree which is proportional to n. So this network, they does not scale well, of course, but lastly the maximum edge length will be increasing as the network is going to grow, because here the nodes are not arbitrarily small. So here let us think of the nodes as lying on the surface of the sphere, and the edges as cords that are connecting them. Okay, so now coming to the mesh network topology. So in a mesh, the nodes are arranged in a q-dimensional lattice. So here a 2-dimensional lattice with 36 nodes, which we can see in this particular figure. So a 2-dimensional lattice with 36 nodes. So here the mesh in this particular figure, which is a square. So here, unless stated otherwise, meshes are usually being considered as square. So in general, there are k-square nodes in a 2-dimensional mesh. And a 3-dimensional mesh is which is an logical extension of 2-dimensional one. And if it is not hard to imagine a 3-dimensional mesh also, because it consists of lattice points in a 3-dimensional grid with edges that are being connected to the adjacent points. So here a 3-dimensional mesh that assumes the same number of nodes in all the dimensions. They must have k power 3 nodes. So here, while we cannot usually depict a q dimensional mesh network when q is greater than 3, so we cannot describe their properties. Okay, so here in a q dimensional network, which is going to have k power q nodes, where k is the number of nodes in a single dimension of the mesh. So here, let q denotes the dimensions of the mesh. So here, let us assume that the q is being denoted as the dimensions of mesh. To see this, note that the farthest distance between the nodes is in the form of one corner to the diagonally opposite corner. Okay, from here to here. So if you are going to see, so here the inductive argument, which is will be like something like this. So in a two-dimensional lattice with k square nodes, we will be we have to travel k minus 1 edges horizontally, and we have to travel k minus 1 edges vertically to get the opposite corner. Of course, we may go in any order, and thus we must traverse 2 into k minus 1 edges. Suppose, see, from coming from here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So whatever the way we come from this corner to this corner, it will be, we have to traverse 2k minus 1 edges. So here, suppose if we have a mesh of dimensions q minus 1, where q is greater than 3. So by assumptions, its diameter is q minus 1 into k minus 1. So here the mesh on one higher dimension has k minus 1 copies, and the q minus 1 dimension mesh side by side. So here, to get from one corner to the opposite one, we have to traverse the corners of q minus 1 dimensional mesh. So this requires crossing of q minus 1 into k minus 1 edges. Then we have to get the kth copy of the mesh in the new dimension. So here we have to cross k minus 1 more edges to this to do this. So we have to travel a total of q minus 1 into k minus 1 plus k minus 1, which will be equal to q into k minus 1 edges. So here, of course, this is not rigorous, but this is the idea of this particular proof. So here, if k is an even number, then the bisection width with a q dimensional mesh network with k power q nodes, which is k to the power of q minus 1. So here, if we consider a 2D mesh for the previous figure, so it will split into two halves. You can have 6 is equal to 6 power 1 edges, and imagine that the 3D mesh with 2 power 16 nodes. So here, to split into two halves, we can delete the 36, that is equal to 6 square vertical edges that are connected to 36 nodes in the third and fourth phase. And in general, one can delete the edge that is going to connect the adjacent copies of the q minus 1 dimension lattice in the middle of the q dimensional lattice. Therefore, there are k to the power of q minus 1 such edges what we can see. Okay, so this is a very high bisection width. And one can prove by an induction arguments that the bisection with k is odd, which is k to the power of q minus 1 by k minus 1. Thus, whether the k is even or odd, the bisection with which will be theta of k power q minus 1. So here, as there are n is equal to k power q nodes in the mesh, this is roughly qth root of n, that is q, which is a very high bisection width. When q is equal to 2, it is a square root of n. So the degree, what we can see in a mesh which is fixed for each and every given q, and it is always 2 power q. So here the maximum edge length, which is also a constant independent of the mesh size for 2 or 3 dimensional mesh. So for higher dimensional meshes, it is not, of course, it is not a constant value, and the extension of the mesh, which is an torus, Okay, so a torus, the two-dimensional version of which is illustrated in this particular figure, which will be something like this. So here, this figure, which is an extension of mesh by inclusion of edges between the exterior nodes in each row and also in each column. See here, see this exterior node which is been connected like this, and here this particular exterior node which has been connected like this. So in higher dimensions, it is going to include the edges between the exterior nodes in each dimension, and it is also called as an torus because the surface that would be formed if it were being wrapped around the nodes and edges with a thin LM, which would be a mathematical torus. That is something which will appear like a donut. So here a torus or a toroidal mesh which has a lower diameter than a non-toroidal mesh by a factor of 2. Okay, now let us see what is an hypercube. That is a binary n cube. So a binary n cube or a hyper network is a network with 2 power n nodes arranged as a vertices of n dimensional cube. So here a hypercube, which is simply a generalization of an ordinary cube and a 3-dimensional shape with which we already know. So here, although we probably think of a cube as a rectangular prism whose edges are all of equal length, that is not the only way to think about it. So to start, a single point can be thought of as an 0 cube. So we can consider a single point as an 0 cube. Suppose if the label is 0. Suppose if the label is 0. Now, suppose that we replicate this particular 0 cube, putting the copy of distance of 1 unit away and connecting the original and the copy by a line segment of length 1 as what we can see in this particular figure. So we will be giving a duplicate node that labeled as 1. So we extend the idea of one step further, and we will replicate a 1 cube by putting the copy parallel to the original at a distance of 1 unit away in the orthogonal direction, and connect the corresponding nodes. So which they copy to those in the particular original. So we will use a binary number of labels numbers to label these nodes which are instead of decimal values. So here the node is the copy what we will be labeling with the same labels as those of the original except for any changes. So here the most significant bit is originally will be changing from 0 to 1 in the copy. So like what we can see in this particular figure. Okay, so now we repeat this procedure to create a 3 cube. So which is a replicate of a 2-dimensional cube. So putting the copy parallel to the original at a distance of 1 unit away in the orthogonal direction. Now connecting the nodes in the copy to the corresponding nodes in the original, which are being relabeled all the nodes by adding another significant bit 0 in the original and 1 in the copy. So 0 we will be adding in the original and 1 in the copy. So it is now it is not hard to see how we can create an hypercube of arbitrary dimensions through drawing them, because they are bit cumbersome. So here a 4 cube which is being illustrated like what we can see in this particular figure. So here the node labels will play an important role in our understanding of the hypercube. So if you can clearly observe that the labels of the two nodes, they differ exactly by 1 bit change, if and only if they are connected by an edge. So here in an n-dimensional hypercube, each node label which is being represented by n bits, and each of these bits, they can be inverted 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. So implying that each node has exactly n incident edges. So in a 4D hypercube, for example, each node has 4 neighbors. Each node will be having 4 neighbors. So here the degree of an n cube, which is n. So here the diameter of n dimensional hypercube, which is n. So to see this particular thing, if you can observe that a given integer representing with n bits can be transformed to any other n bit integer by changing just only the most n bits, that is 1 bit at a time, and this corresponds to walk across n edge in hypercube from first to the second label. So here if you can clearly see the bisection with a n-dimensional hypercube, which is a 2 power n minus 1. So one way to of seeing this particular thing is to realize that all the nodes can be thought of as lying on one of 2 planes. Pick any bit position which and call it as a b. So here if the node whose b bit is equal to 0 are on one plane, and the node whose b bit is equal to 1 are in the other plane. So here the to split the network into 2 sets of nodes, one in each plane, and one has to delete one edge connected to the 2 planes. So here every node in the 0 plane is attached to exactly one node in the 1 plane by 1 edge. So therefore we have 2 power n minus 1 such pairs of nodes, and hence 2 power n minus 1 edges we will be having. So here no smaller set of edges can be cut to split this particular node set. Understood? So here the number of edges what we can see in an n-dimensional hypercube is, which is n into 2 power n minus 1. So to see this we have to note that it is true when n is equal to 0, as there are 0 edges in the 0 cube, and we have to assume it is true for all k less than or equal to n. So here a hypercube of dimensions n consists of 2 hypercubes of dimension n, one with one edge between each pair of corresponding nodes in the 2 smaller hypercubes, and there are 2 power n minus 1 such edges what we can see. Thus using this inductive hypothesis, the hypercube dimension n, which is going to have 2 into n minus 1 into 2 power n minus 2 plus 2 power n minus 1, and which will be equal to n minus 1 into 2 power n minus 1 plus 2 power n minus 1. And further solving, we get it is n minus 1 plus 1 into 2 power n minus 1, which is equal to n into 2 power n minus 1 edges. So this how we are going to prove means we can prove this by using the mathematical induction. So that's about hypercube. So in our next video, let us discuss about the butterfly network topology. So here, let us end this particular session at this point. So in our next video, let us discuss about what is butterfly network topology. Hope you understood this particular lecture. So let us end the topic here. That's all for now. Thank you very much.